This call is being recorded.
Okay, Tristin, in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Everything Horror Podcast. Now, on this episode, we're going to be talking about a short horror film called The Passenger, which was produced, directed, edited, and scriptwritten by the owner and maker of Everything Horror Podcast. And let me introduce you to Paul Dulski, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And the main character and the main focus of this story and the actress behind it all is
And the killer herself.
Tessa Baker.
Hello, everybody.
Now, for you to view this short horror film, before we hop into this, I'm going to tell you right now, you can find it only on YouTube, and it's called The Passenger. And there's a little scene in the beginning of it all. Then you can view that, and it's called Ghost Stories, Marble Street Ghost, aka The Passenger. You can view that also on YouTube and also on Podbean. Now, if everybody's down and ready to go, let's start this up. Now, Paul, I'm going to start off with you. So, how did you come up with the idea behind The Passenger?
The idea behind The Passenger is actually a real folklore urban legend that I was told back in the day. And so the idea really came from that. A lot of people didn't know about it, and you can't really find too much information about this urban legend. So I figured, well, if you can't really find much about it, why not try to bring this specific tale to life? And I've kind of had the idea in my mind for a while of how we could do it. It's just a matter of pulling it off. And luckily, I think it's safe to say that with the team that I had, we pulled it off pretty well.
Now, how much did production cost you?
Okay, well, if before we go into the cost, when we first started this idea, and you probably heard it too, Tristin, is we always get told we have cell phones, and we can just make movies on our phone. So originally, the idea was to make The Passenger through my Samsung Galaxy S9 phone. It was actually going to be a cell phone movie. However, when it came down to the Kickstarter campaign that we did, we actually reached a stretch goal, which allowed us to get a whole new camcorder that could record in 4K, and it would allow us to reshoot pretty much the whole movie. Unfortunately, the flashback part was actually the only part that was not reshot, and that was actually all from a cell phone. It was not through the camcorder. So, to answer your question about production costs, with everything, it probably came around. So, with the cost of everything, it probably came around $580.
That ain't bad.
No, especially when you got to look at paying for people's gas, the makeup that Tessa had, pretty much the camcorder cost. We even bought a fog machine, which we ended up not using because, unfortunately, at the time, we couldn't find this portable power outlet thing. So, because we didn't have that power outlet at the time, we couldn't use the fog machine, which was going to be used in a couple scenes to help make the atmosphere more creepier.
Now, when you were producing this film, was the rough draft of the script the same, or did you have to change a few things with it?
We didn't really have to change. It was more of adding stuff. So, like, originally, the flashback wasn't really there. And just like the ending scene where we see the lady in white carrying a child, and spoiler, I drive up and say, "Hey, do you need a lift?" And then the lady in white says, "Yes, please. I live in town." That was actually added near the end because we were talking one day, Tessa and I, and we're just like, we can't end it the way we end it. We can't just kill off the driver and that's it. What if we could actually take or find a way, like a baby, doll or something, and make it so that we have it come full circle? And that's what we did. We found a baby and we shot that scene, and we're just like, I think that works out really well because now we connect almost everything that we hear from the radio.
Now, what was your favorite scene when you were directing the short film?
Favorite scene? Oh. Well, besides the awesome makeup effects for that, which I think let Tessa talk about that, and how the idea of certain things came to be. But my favorite shots will have to probably be, maybe the night shots. I just like those shots with the clouds and the blue and stuff because we weren't intentionally trying to do it. It was just the way it was filmed. So what you see there is literally like a full moon, and just that blue alone, I think, really helps catch the eye, like, and help bring the rules to life, really, because we all one of the rules is you can't turn on your headlights. So as you see the car drive by, you don't see headlights on, and it's like it's kind of nighttime, even though it kind of switches off and on between day and night. But I think it's a good way of saying like, well, we don't really know when the driver is actually listening to the episode. Just like we don't know exactly when we see the car drive down the road to begin with. Because for all we know, he could have been driving one and listening to the radio one day, and then while we see him at the road another day, but this time it being night, but maybe he didn't have any luck. And then when we see the lady in white walking down the street, that could have been like a whole new day. I mean, I think that's like the cool transition between day, night, day, is that it should maybe say something along like, well, when was this? Because there's no way this was one day. And I think that's one of the things I really like about it.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed while watching the short film was I noticed one moment it was nighttime and then another time it was during the day. And it really gave it that vibe that it was multiple days. Like the driver's been driving for a couple days now and he came across her. That's how I took those scenes.
Well, that's good.
Now, what was the hardest scene to shoot?
The hardest scene to shoot was probably the final scene with the lady in white with her full-blown makeup. Without giving too much away, because I'll definitely have Tessa talk about it too, because she's the one that, of course, wore and had to use that, what was it, charcoal liquid?
Charcoal and grape juice.
Yeah, so, babe, explain, so, how did we work that out? Because that charcoal and liquid...
First of all, is that one of your questions, Tristin?
Actually, it's not.
Okay. All right. Now go ahead, babe. What were you saying?
Like the charcoal and the grape juice. you know how we had that liquid come out of your mouth?
Yeah.
That was right there. What had to be a one take. It was a one shot deal, and there was no
I pretty
redoing it.
pretty much had to get myself in the mindset where I was just like, okay, we can only do this once. I got to do this just right. I'm like saying to myself, okay, be creepy. Be creepy. Like, you want to terrify this driver. So I just put myself in that mindset if I were dead and I was this like scorned lover or whatever, how would I embody that? So that's pretty much how I was able to get into the whole mindset of everything and how the liquid came out the way that it did, because I was just like, I really want to scare the shit out of people, so I really just need to do this right. So I only let so much come out at a time, and then I gradually let more and more come out as if I were trying to speak.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the hardest part for sure. And then the scenes after that were a little bit complicated because, we had all that stuff on you to begin with. Then we had it on Jeremy in the car, and then it was just like, well, we had to take like a couple scenes and like combine all of it because we were trying to get, of course, different angles. So getting that right moment, I think, was the hardest bit because you had to make sure that you could see Tessa, but your focus was the driver for sure. But you also had to think like, oh man, we're actually using real natural darkness. So the lighting, of course, wasn't the greatest, but we could only use so much light, so we had to use what we could without making it look uh, too light.
Pretty much in this instance, I think what Paul's trying to say is, with the amount of time that it took for my makeup to be done, by the time we actually went out to do the scene, we were losing daylight. So we pretty much had to play with what little bit of light that we had.
You were in that chair for how long? 2 hours and 45 minutes, 3 hours, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I was sitting in the chair for quite a while.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, when you were producing this and when you were done with it, and when you looked back and watched it and modified it to where you liked it, was there any doubts? Was there parts that you could have done better with the script, produced, directed? Is there any parts you could have done better with?
Probably the body parts where they get thrown into the swamp. That probably could have been a lot better, but that was more of like, well, we couldn't really use the spot we really wanted, so we had to drive down the road, find a spot, and just do it real quick. So, I kind of wish we could have done a little bit better things for the body parts. Otherwise, maybe the flashback for sure. I mean, that could have been maybe a lot more better. But then again, we're trying to make it a B movie. It's not like we're trying to make it like a really pronounced film. It was more like a B movie where we all were having fun making this. It wasn't like we were really trying to be serious, even though we were trying to be serious, if that makes any sense.
Now, Tessa, you have the spotlight now. What was your first thoughts of the script?
Honestly, for it being Paul's first time writing, directing, producing, editing a film, I thought he did really well with the script. Honestly, for it being his first project of him, being
The boss.
The boss. So I think for being what it is, I think he did well with it, and I enjoyed it, honestly.
I definitely agree with you. I think Paul nailed it right on the head. Now, were you nervous when you knew you're going to be playing the woman in the white dress?
I was a little bit nervous because I was afraid I was gonna have like some kind of like stage fright to a degree, because it was gonna be like my first official time being on camera acting. Yeah, I've played in haunted houses and stuff like that before, but I've never been in front of like a camera being filmed before. So I was a little bit nervous about it, to be honest. And it being my first time acting, was worried like if I was gonna do good enough, if my performance was gonna be good enough, like things like that, because honestly, I didn't know how well I was going to do, given it was my first film.
Well, I think you did an amazing job, Tessa.
Well, thank you, Tristin.
Now, was it difficult for you to get in character?
Yes and no. It was easier for me to put myself in the mindset for my final form than it was for me to play the
quiet type.
Well, not just the quiet type, but playing the, discarded mistress. It was harder for me to get in the mindset of being the discarded mistress than actually getting into my final form. I was more comfortable playing my final form than I was playing, the mistress. And you can kind of tell that a little bit if, like, you watch me, because I seem to be a lot more comfortable being creepy or terrifying versus quiet and normal.
Now, what was your favorite scene acting out?
Oh, definitely my final scene with Jeremy in the car. That was definitely by far my favorite. I had the most fun doing that because I don't know, I just enjoy being fucking creepy. Like I have way too much fun with it. And lunging across the car at Jeremy, fully decked out in makeup and everything, was so much fun. Definitely by far my most favorite was that scene right there in the car.
I think that was my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was very terrifying.
well, thank you. I tend to have that effect on people sometimes.
Now, what do you think you could have improved on?
I think I think I could have done better with my acting when I was playing like the the jilted lover. I think I could have done better in that performance, like when I was being dragged off, like the panic and stuff like that. I could have done better. We pretty much did that shot in like one take, really. We didn't reshoot it. So, like, I think as far as that goes, I think if I had like another go at that scene again, I think I would have done better. I don't think I fully like could I don't think I fully gave like everything I could have in that moment, but I think I did well for what I did do, but I definitely think that I could have improved better there.
Well, I will add to that. That's why said I would probably go back to redo the ghost we passed, because for a couple of reasons. One is we had to deal with the most ridiculous sunlight ever. One moment it would be like bright enough where we could see everybody's shadows, even mine. So I had to like move my phone like up more and like away from me, just so the shadows wouldn't show. And then there was time like when we did that one that we used for the film that had absolutely really no sunlight to reflect our shadows. So it was like becoming nighttime yet again. We were also having to deal with people that were coming to the West Rutland Marsh and like probably looking at us like, "What the fuck are we doing?" So like how the audio even there was not contaminated by people is just a blessing, I guess, because I think when we did that that take that you guys see of the Goku Pass there, that was after everybody fucking left the swamp area. And it was just like one of those things where it's just like you can't figure out when people go there and when they're not there to do this. So it was like a hit and miss.
Yeah, there was a lot of elements that were affecting the filming. So, like, I think that, like, such as like Paul was saying, like the natural light, like the sunlight, the weather, traffic, people, just things in general. I think if a lot of those things didn't affect the filming, like we could have done better, or perhaps, I don't know, more in a way, like better acting, like we wouldn't feel like we were kind of slightly rushed, or we were like tiptoeing around
If
other
we had
elements.
more time to work with Jason instead of what time we actually were able to with him,
Then
I
we could
think
have done
we could have done
better.
a lot better.
Yeah, because we only had Jason for like
A day.
a day, and
I think we used him for maybe 2 hours.
yeah. If
So
we had more time with Jason, we probably could have done like a lot better with the film itself. But considering the fact that we were restricted on time, and by the way, for listeners, Jason was Brad in the film. He was my lover in a way, yeah. So we only had him for like a day, like Paul was saying, for like 2 hours, and yeah. So if we had him for longer or more availability, we probably could have done a lot better with the film.
If we could have had at least one more day with Jason, I think we could have actually made that whole thing better.
Yeah, probably nailed it like a lot better than what we did, but I think for what we were able to accomplish, it was still good.
Yes.
I agree. I think it was very well done. And the scene that you're talking about, Tessa, I think you, for your first time acting, that scene where you're panicking and getting dragged off, I think that was pretty good for your first try.
Yeah, that was honestly like one take, one shot. Like, I didn't redo that over. Like, that was just me doing it just one time through. And maybe if I had like more practice or whatever, I probably could have been, I don't know, more panicked, fought more, resisted more, whatever. But given that it was done in one take, I still don't think it was bad. Could have been better, yes. But yeah.
And I'm not trying to say like we did just one take and that was it. I would look at it, I would talk to everybody, make sure that they liked it if they wanted to redo it. So if everybody liked it, then we would move on. But if somebody was like, yeah, I think I could have done better, then we would have done it. Like if they didn't feel comfortable enough, then we would redo it. Like if like what I know now too is one thing I wish I would have done with the Go Through Pass 2 is with Tessa. I would have told her to get like out of the shot completely, so we couldn't even see her at all, even like hiding behind the whatever
The trees.
the tree. I would have told her to completely like go all the way until like we couldn't even see her. And then what I would have done is we would have gotten to that one part where Flora, who plays Mary Jane, that when she's like, she got to go. That's when I would have been like, all right, stop right there for a minute. And then I would yell out to Tessa, like, Tessa, come in. And then she could start walking out. So then what I would do there is I would have had our friend Flora say that line one more time as she's coming out, or just about as she's coming out, so that way it's more like she heard it and now she wants to come out because she wants to know who got to go, rather than just standing there looking awkward. But yeah.
But I will say this, for the Ghostly Pass, I think how I reacted to like finding out about Mary Jane or whatever, or like just my general reaction when I come out, the emotion. I think the emotion that I gave was spot on. I will say that.
Now, this is a big question for the both of you.
Oh boy.
Will we be seeing more from you guys?
Oh, of course. Definitely. We already have a few projects that we're brainstorming about that are in the works. We actually have a Kickstarter up right now for our next project, which I will be doing the majority of the writing in that one. Paul will be helping me, but he wants me to take the reins as director in this one.
Director-writer.
Yeah. Director-writer in this one, and it's called The Witch.
Yes. We don't know if it's going to be an urban legend or if it's going to be its own thing, but really that's what we're trying to find out with the Kickstarter right now, is if we can reach its goal of 800 by October 27th, then we will have an idea of what we will be doing. And if we don't reach it, then we will probably try again, but we will probably not offer what we are offering right now. We're not 100% sure, though.
Yeah, we're still pretty much brainstorming and working out the details and things like that, and coming up with different rewards and things like that if the funding does go through and the Kickstarter succeeds. We also have 2 other projects besides The Witch. One is a friend's idea, Jason's, right?
Yep.
Called The Sheriff. So that's another short horror film that is
In the works.
in the work. Well,
Sort of.
Yeah, we'll just say in the works for lack of better wording. And then Paul has another one that he wants to do that he's already been writing about.
The script is actually all the way done. I wrote the script in a day. It's just the fact that of pulling it off is what I'm most concerned about because of what we would need to pull it off.
And that is
Ghost Hollow, another Vermont urban legend.
So yeah, that's pretty much what we've got coming up. Like I said, the witch will be the next one.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to work out the details, see if the Kickstarter succeeds and gets funded.
Go from there.
And go from there.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I'm brainstorming and everything else, trying to get ideas for like the script, the costumes, the setting, just the environment, everything.
Well, the witch has already been proven to be difficult for what, Tessa? Finding a damn witch hat.
Oh yeah, I've never been so hard to find a damn witch hat when you really want it, and this is coming from the witch herself.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's quite the pain in the ass.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me and talking about this film you guys produced. With being one of the people that have seen this and watched this, in my personal opinion, I think it was well made. The scenes really showed a lot of emotion, a lot of elements that, you know, for your first time, Tessa acting, and Paul's first directing, editing, producing, and script writing this short film, I think it was very well made. I mean, there was a few scenes, I'll agree with you guys, that, you know, could have been better. And, you know, like the scene where Brad goes and gets that knife to
the machete.
Yeah, the machete.
Yes, to dismantle Tessa. You know, that, you know, I, with being an audience and watching this, you know, I would have liked the scene, maybe a cut scene where he goes back to the car, grabbing it and going back. Like, you know, those things are just small little things that really don't matter. So, you know,
but it would have been done. Yeah.
I really think that it was spot on and well done. Great job, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Gracias, senor.
And like I said in the beginning of the episode, for you to watch this and view this, you can find it on YouTube called The Passenger. And there's a little scene where Jeremy is in the car driving his car, and you can hear Paul's voice in the background. You can also find that on YouTube as well. And that's written and called Ghost Stories, Marble Street Hitchhiker, aka The Passenger, if you want to view that. And you can also find it on Podbean. Now, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening and sitting there, standing, whatever you're doing, and viewing this episode. Now, with you is Tristin Notte.
And this is Paul Dulski.
And I'm Tessa Baker.
And from Everything Horror Podcast, we wish you to
Stay scary.